Hello everybody. So today I just wanted to tell you about and share this very special project with you guys. So I have had this idea for a few weeks, and so I have been obtaining the right materials and just trying to find the perfect pieces to put together this project, which I will be starting very soon. I've been procrastinating for a little while because I've had other work to do for my mother that I've been trying to focus on and get out of the way because those have deadlines, but this is just a personal indulgence. So I first saw this very beautiful antique 1930s silk and lace tap shorts and bralette set. So I was very inspired by that. And I have this collection of fabrics and laces, and I'll just be sharing with you my plans, and then we'll get to sewing them. So basically, I'm just gonna recreate the set that I showed you as much as I can. And so for that, I bought this beautiful antique 1920s or 1930s lace bralette front. So you can see the beautiful silk ribbon work and the kind of structure of the bralette. It's really just two lace pieces that have been sewn together, if you can see. And so it's just lace trim that's been sewn together. And at one point this did have straps, and I'm sure a whole body, because you can see the ribbon right there. But this will be the front to the bralette that I'm making. And to finish out the that, I will be using this gorgeous pale green silk habitat that I got off of Etsy for $10. So it's just $10 for a yard, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be enough. At least I hope. So that's gonna be for the straps, and then where it ties around the back, or clasps around the back rather. And then I'm gonna make the beautiful matching skirted tap shorts. So I'm pretty sure in the original garment it was probably a skirt with like a little bridge between the legs for modesty, but I will be omitting the bridge and just making a tap, or a, I guess, slip skirt kind of style. I'm gonna use just a side snap closure, and I will be putting this beautiful antique lace at the hem. I think it's very beautiful. And then, since I have so much fabric and I don't think I'm going to use it all for the tap shorts, because that's what's going to take up most of the fabric, I will be making a matching slip. So I found these antique net pieces at my local vintage sewing supply store. And so the idea is this Victorian tambour embroidered flounce will be the top of the slip, and then off of that, the remnants of this silk habitat. Then there will be a layer of this bobinette, and then off of that, at the very hem, it's going to be this antique tambour bobinette trim. So I'm very inspired by, of course, the 1920s throughout most of this, because that's where most of these materials these laces are older. These laces are from like the 1910s, or the flounce was Victorian, but it's very 1920s, maybe a little bit transitional to the 1930s, but I found a lot of examples specifically in the 1920s using nets and laces extensively through the bodice and the hem. And since it's going to be mostly a net based slip, that's kind of what I just took inspiration from mostly. So I'm also going to be doing mostly hand sewing just because I've been a bit enamored with finding a specific pair, well, not enamored, I have been enamored with studying the specific pair of tap shorts that I got while antiquing in LA. And we'll be right back. I'll grab them for you. So I found this pair of antique 1920s, 30s tap shorts, and I noticed while I was studying them that they are almost completely hand sewn, and I just love that detail. So if you can see, the stitches on this waistband are just completely hand done running stitches. These buttonholes I'll show you better, but I just wanted to recreate that in a way in my inspired pieces. So yep. Okay, so as I have been sewing and kind of curating the inspiration and the whole concept of the collection that I'm sewing, I've come to kind of define the collection as a trousseau. So I kind of wanted to give like a little explanation on what a trousseau is and kind of a little history behind it and how that's influencing what I am sewing. So yeah, I'm gonna change the lighting though really quick because this is not, but so a trousseau is basically defined as a bridal collection of clothing, linens, and personal items that was collected by a woman before being married. So considered a counterpart to a dowry because it established like the basis of like a new household. So when a woman and man moved out from their parents' house, they would have their own linens and kind of like a start of a collection of items to build their house on. And so basically a trousseau kind of goes all the way back to ancient times, so like the Romans and the Greeks. And back then it was like it became a really big status symbol. So the larger the trousseau, the more wealthy the house. And so it became quite opulent, and there was like marriage chests, and it would have silks and silver, and it was kind of like a big royalty thing, like they would do it, but also common people would do it as well. It became even more popular in the Victorian era, and they would have these trousseau teas where the mother of the bride, because it was a whole like marriage thing, would have an event that I feel like kind of mimics, not mimics, but is like almost like a bachelorette party, but or like a wedding shower kind of, but you would show off the linens and all of the items that would be going into this trousseau. And so it was kind of like a very public thing then, and again it still showed status. And into the 20th century, trousseaus were very much still a thing, especially at the turn of the century and up until the 1920s, and even to the 1940s and 50s, though those became more of like hope chests, and it kind of changed names. And so the whole idea of the trousseau and like a hope chest is that you would have this box, and throughout like your childhood and into your adulthood until you got married, you would be making and embroidering these linens, all probably in a particular style, that would obviously correspond with the era. So Victorian era would be like this, and then Edwardian is very white work kind of focused, and then into the 1920s and 30s it's very decorative and like embroidery and pastels, and into the 40s and 50s again fun decorative kind of stuff. But the whole idea was that you would kind of build it up through your childhood and then have it ready by the time you're married to start a new life. And so I'm focusing on the 1920s and kind of like into the 30s. And so a wedding trousseau in the 1920s would contain the wedding gown, all the clothes for the honeymoon, so several outfits, all that kind of stuff. Then it would also contain linens like bedding, tablecloths, washcloths, all that kind of stuff. And then the part that I'm focusing on, the intimates and lingerie. So in the 1920s, the lingerie of the era was a lot less. There was like a lot less of it than in the 1910s, 1900s. So in the 1920s, it kind of shifted away from like cotton and practicality in a way, and it kind of turned more towards silk and lace and just very highly decorative pieces. Not that the 1910s weren't, it's just I think more of cottons and maybe some silks, but still less decorative than the 1920s. In the 1920s, in the trousseau, there would be both sleepwear and intimates for daily use. So at this time, you could probably think of seeing in the trousseau a step-in, which is kind of like a camisole and knickers together. So it would be, it's like a kind of like a mini slip with a bridge between the legs, and those became really popular in the 1920s because it kind of got rid of like the bulk that a full chemise and underwear and kind of all that stuff would like provide. So it's just a little bit lighter, and I find them very adorable. I have my own example of a 1920s step-in I will show you. And I'll put it in the clip. But then the underwear for daily use would be bralette and tap pants. This could obviously change on the woman, so it wasn't always like a bralette, but it could have been like a camisole or bust minimizer or any kind of like separate garment from the underwear. It was also kind of common for the era because the corsets started being under bust, and so you needed bust support or bust minimizing for the shape of the era. Then there's also full slip and nightgowns, so they're kind of used interchangeably on like the market when you're like buying antique clothes, but slips are always just going to be a lot more plain, I find, so they won't be so decorative. Not that they weren't pretty, and not that they weren't like, they didn't have like just nothing, no decoration on them oftentimes, but they will be a lot more practical than the nightgowns, which are just like very pretty, very lacy, and these could go from above the knee all the way down to like mid-calf. So it just kind of depends if you're on the back end or the front or the middle of the decade. Then you'll also find kind of like boudoir accessories. So like a bed cap, which would go over your head when you're sleeping with pin curls, or boudoir slippers that you wear around the house. And then lastly, you would also find bed jackets or robes that were meant for just going around the house after you woke up or before you went to sleep. And so those are like the kind of items you would find in a 1920s trousseau, and I picked out a very few of these to kind of create my collection. And obviously I did not create a whole trousseau. I just kind of took like a portion of the trousseau and kind of used that to inspire my collection. And the whole thing of the trousseau is that all like the linens, all the intimates are kind of in like the same style. They're in the same like color palette, not always the same materials, but same color palette, and they want like the same like cohesive kind of vibe. And yeah. Okay, it's a new day. So I'm gonna start with making the skirted tap shorts first, because that's what I think is gonna take up the most silk and kind of like the main piece of the what's it called, ensemble. So I have these tap shorts that I sewed myself. That I sewed myself a little while ago. So I'm just gonna use this as a pattern because this is kind of the vibe I'm going for, but I'm just gonna omit the middle seam. But yep. So I'm gonna trace them, and yeah. Here we are with our two pieces. So I'm gonna machine, so just two simple seams. So I'm just gonna do the side seams, and yeah, I think that's it. Then I'll get started on doing the waistband, the closures, and then the lace. And this is probably like the easiest part of the project, so that's why we're getting out of the way first. Okay, so I finished sewing the side seams, and I pinked the edges. I might still overcast them if this fabric is very prone to fraying. I just lost a needle. Okay, whatever, I'll find it. Anyways, I'm just gonna hand sew this waistband, and yeah, once I find my needle. Okay, now I'm gonna attach the front of this umbrella to these pieces. They're gonna go around the back. So yeah. Closures on this piece, so I just added little antique hooks and eyes. So I'm just gonna, I decided that I'm gonna just do ribbon straps, so I'm gonna use this ribbon, and yeah, I'm really excited. It's like basically done. Hello guys, so it's day 3 of working on this little trousseau, 1920s trousseau kind of inspired project, and I'm just now gonna get started on the slip, which is one of the last big pieces that I have to make. So I'm currently waiting on some silk ribbon, and that's it to kind of get the rest of my materials, but I'm sure, at least I'm hoping it'll come soon, because that's going to be like the final detail for this one little added piece that I just am super excited to show you, but that's for later. So today I'm gonna be working on my little slip. So I have this much fabric left, and this is doubled. So I'm going to be making this kind of like section right here into the body of the slip. This little Edwardian or Victorian like flounce will be the hem of the dress. I'm gonna do it like this. And then I have this other net lace that's gonna be the yoke. So, and then I'm gonna do some self fabric straps. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm gonna just do some French seams, I think. I mean, actually I might just do pink seams instead of French seams because this fabric doesn't really take well to machine sewing. So I'm probably just gonna do pink seams, and then I'll just hand stitch the lace and the hem. So okay, I just sewed like the general like tube slash body. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I might add like little gathers like right here at like the like a drop waist kind of effect, or I could do like a net, sort of like net and silk belt or something, but I will sew on the lace and the straps, and then I guess we'll see how it looks on. But right now I'm a little bit unsure, so yeah. Okay, so I added a few details today. So I added this like yoke right here at the top because I wanted to shorten the whole just like general slip. And then I also am putting in darts kind of at the underarm or side seams because it's just too wide at the top. So I'm hoping it's gonna help fit better. I need to iron it on this side obviously, but I also was thinking of doing like a little like net insertion right under the yoke maybe, but I'm not sure. That might be like a final addition. So that's where I am right now. Okay, I finally sewed all the lace on, and I'm actually really happy with how it's looking, with all the details. I think last thing I just need to do is do the straps, and so I'm gonna get started on that so I can just get it out of the way. Okay, I finished the little slip, and I just love it. I love all the details and all the stitching because it's all hand stitched. That part and the straps, self fabriced, and the little yoke. And then I love these little, I guess, gathers and the lace. And then just down to the hem is so beautiful. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's adorable. Okay, so now that, oh, hold on. Okay, so now that I have finished like the 3 biggest pieces for the trousseau, I wanted to show you the rest of the materials that I have that I'm really excited to make into little accessories, I guess. So most of these I just came up with, well, the big one I came up with today, but I bought this little 1920s boudoir kind of headband a few days ago on Etsy for a really good price. It's only about $8, and these go for like really expensive. Though this is a more simpler, this is a simpler one. I just think it's adorable. It has this beautiful cream silk ribbon and the net and the lace, and I just thought it would really go well with the trousseau. It's just missing the little ties that would go under the head, and so I ordered some kind of sage green, mint green silk ribbon off of Etsy, and I'm hoping that comes soon, and I'll just add 2 2 long pieces to kind of tie under the chin, and then I might add like thin little not silk, thin little pink ribbons at the top right here, but I don't know about that. But the larger project that I just kind of came up with today when I was brainstorming was making a 1920s kind of net camisole, because I have all this antique cotton bobinette and I really want to use it. And so I'm going to kind of use a little bit of silk, like these kind of like silk scraps that I have. And then I'm also going to use some of the lace from this antique collar. I know that some people might be like upset because I'm going to kind of split all these different like laces up, but I just don't get any wear out of this and it's a bit stained already. So I'm just going to take out this kind of hand done bobbin lace that's just super beautiful, and I'm just going to repurpose it. And I'm also going to repurpose all of this beautiful antique insertion lace, and it's going to be put into this camisole. And I think I want to do some pink straps or something, because I just want to kind of introduce a little bit more of a different color into the trousseau, whether that be pink or maybe like a peach kind of I would go for. But yeah, that's kind of my inspiration, and I'm really happy and excited to just continue doing all this because it's just so fun to create like a whole little wardrobe. Okay, so I just received in the mail this beautiful silk ribbon, which I'm going to use on the little boudoir like head wrap, and it just is so perfect. It isn't satin, so it's not gonna exactly match the ribbon that's already on the like headband, but it does match pretty well to the actual color of the silk for the rest of the trousseau. So I'm pretty happy. I'm just gonna add it on, hand sew it on, and then I'll show you how it looks, but I think it's super cute. Okay, I know the lighting is quite poor now, but I have added the ribbons, and I think it's just so beautiful. This is just modern silk ribbon, and you can just tell kind of like the difference in like the quality and stuff, but I still love it. So I just kind of wanted to get this video out today. So I haven't entirely finished the last piece, but I will show you everything I've made. So first I'm gonna start, I guess, in chronological order. So the first thing I made was this tap skirt. I think it's adorable. If it was accurate to the era, it would have a bridge between the legs, so like right here. But I just decided to omit it. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I really love like the little hand-sewn waistband, and then it has these just metal, antique metal side snaps. And I'm not trying any of these on, I know, I'm sorry, but can't do that. Then, this is probably my favorite piece, I think, the bralette. So this was using a antique bralette front. So this is original to the 1920s, and I added the little straps and the backing. And I think this is gonna be like great for actual like period wear, under like the dresses of this era, because they oftentimes have like the most see-through materials, and it's nice to have something not modern under. Then the next thing I made was this 1920s, I guess it's kind of like a step-in inspired piece. I just love this lace part and the Victorian kind of flounce at the bottom. Again, this is all hand sewn except for these straps, which are again self-made, and then the side seams, which I decided to leave most of the side seams raw. This is actually like a selvage, but on this side I just pinked the edges, which is very period because it was either French seams or just raw edges. And I like how this turned out. The only thing I kind of don't like is the little side gathers, only because I know that in like actual rompers like that, or pieces like this from the era, they would have had like a cut right there, and then the body would have been straight, and then the bottom part would have been gathered. I don't know how to explain. I'll show you. So here in this 1920s dress, you can see the whole top is like straight and flat, and then you have the gathers below because they cut it right here and kept this flat, and then gathered the bottom, which was wider, to keep the silhouette straight through the bodice. And that's what I would have done if I had more fabric and if I knew that I was going to add those little waist details at the time. Okay, next piece is this little, the boudoir headband bandeau wrap thing. I think this is adorable. I feel like little Bo Peep or something. The ribbon is not what I would have like ideally chose. I probably would have chosen a satin ribbon if I knew it was going to be this kind of texture, because it just feels like, it doesn't feel like silk to me. This is silk ribbon, but it just doesn't feel like it to me. But I do like how it's cohesive now with the collection with this ribbon. I do find it darling, because of course this is like a original 1920s little headpiece, and I just love it. And I think I got it for like $17 or something like cheap like that, because these are really expensive online. I find them going for like, this is obviously like a very plain one, but I find decorative ones going online for like upwards of $60 to $80 to $100. But this is a very simple one, so I get that it's not so fancy. And then lastly, I made this little net camisole. So it kind of is more 1910s, but the 1920s you still would have worn this. It's kind of more like a corset cover. I think it's adorable. It's using the antique bobinette and some Edwardian like bobbin lace. This is like all hand made lace except for this part in the bottom. And then I added this little faux closure at the back, which I just think will tie in the green cutely. But this is what I'm waiting on for straps. I think I'm going to use either pink or blue straps to match the bralette for the top, and then I was planning on doing a little ribbon around the like waist, the part that I took out the green silk from before, so like right above here I think I might sew in a ribbon. I'm not sure if it's going to be functional or if I'm just going to make it decorative, but yeah. So I'm very happy with how the collection turned out. I still have some leftover materials, but I think I'm just going to leave those for repairs and other projects. But I did have the idea of making like a, I guess like a lingerie bag, but I just don't have enough material, so I think we're just gonna have to leave it, and maybe eventually I'll create like a little bag where I can kind of put everything in, or you know, like one of these little lingerie holders, but on a bigger scale because there's a lot of pieces. But anyways, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's just adorable and just so great to have, and I'm really happy that I hand sewed all of it because I just feel like more connected with the pieces, and it's a better recreation of how lingerie and how a trousseau would be kind of sewn through years, and you know, how it would be made back then. So yeah, anyways, that is everything, and yeah, I hope you like the video, my chaotic process, so come back.